All right, so it's the book reviews. We're going to jump into Booked to Die by John
Well,
Dunning now.
yeah, I'm gonna need to pull. Dude, this was recommended. We need to shout out. Do you have it pulled up?
Oh,
Who it
dude.
was?
Yeah, let me pull it up. So this was a book that was recommended by one of our subscribers. Someone commented for us to listen to this. I don't remember which video it was on, though, so I hope I can
Dude, it
find
was
this really
on.
soon.
It
Okay,
was
it was
on the book hall.
on
I
the book
think.
call. So shout out to Rye Strider 2156.
Shout
He
out.
said, "I never see any booktubers comment on John Dunning's mystery novel Booked to Die. It's the sole reason I started first edition book collecting. Highly recommend the book and
Bro,
series
which
for the education and entertainment.
I
I'd love
didn't
to hear your
understand
thoughts
what
one
that
day."
meant at all
Yeah, me
until
neither.
now that I've read it.
Now I get it.
Now I'm like, same, bro. Like I'm
Yeah,
already so reckless with my money, and now it's like,
yeah.
oh wait,
So we'll keep
I can
this one
flex on people with
essentially.
books.
Yeah, so this one is a mystery murder
Oh, for sure,
novel.
yeah.
So we'll keep it non-spoiler. We're not going to give away what happens in the end.
We
But thank
are.
you, Raj. No, I said we're not.
We're not gonna spoil this book. Like
I mean,
we're
if
not
you
gonna do
want
a
to, we
spoiler
can.
review.
I mean, I guess we can. Yeah, we'll just do non-spoiler and spoiler. But so yeah, for non-spoiler,
Because I mean, I haven't even talked to you about the ending. So like, I mean,
yeah, well,
we
we'll
at least
talk
have to
about it then,
talk
dude. Don't
about
get
it.
worried.
All right, dude. I got scared.
Um, so thanks for the recommendation, Rye Strider. We took it to heart. We read it, and I gave
We
it a
both
4 out of 5.
audibled it, by the way.
Yeah, both audibled it. What'd you give it? I gave it a 4 out of 5. What'd you give
I
it?
think I gave it a 4 as well. And honestly, the only reason I did enjoy it like thoroughly. Like I don't know how long. I know you read it, you listened to it pretty quickly, but I mean, I listened to this on a singular drive, which I mean, I had to drive from Atlanta to Nashville, and that's only 4 hours. And this book's 11 hours on Audible, and I listened on like 1.67. So I mean, it was like a 5.5. Like I mean, essentially, I ended up like doing other things once I got to Nashville solely so I could keep listening to it because I wanted to finish it. So
I got to that
I
point in the
mean,
end too.
I got it in like one setting, so it's not like if you were gonna rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Scale of 1 to 10, like a
I don't know if that makes it harder for you or what. But
probably a hard 7.85.
yeah, I don't think I would give it. Dude, I don't know. Maybe I'd get like if we're going just pure enjoyment. If we're talking about like, okay, do I think this is like the greatest literary work
Yeah,
of our
maybe it's an
time?
8.25.
Like I might give it. Yeah, I think I would give it right at around an 8 because there was nothing I
Yeah.
didn't like about the book. I just haven't gone through enough of this type of like the twist at the end wasn't enough to where I was like, I mean, it was like
Yeah.
okay, yeah, but it was just more pure enjoyment. It felt.
Yeah. It was definitely journey before destination type
Yeah,
read. And
yeah.
it's
The
not a
journey was
bad
way better. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not a
exactly.
bad like ending, but
No.
it's not like you said, it's not like, "Oh my god, I didn't see that coming."
Yeah, but at the same time, it was like good fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I would not tell anyone not to read this.
Yeah.
Like, it
And I
was
would
quick.
argue as a book reader in general, because the reason, like, I mean, he recommended this to us, and we've never talked about anything murder mystery before. So,
Never. Yeah.
and I didn't know if I would like it or not. But as a book reader in general, even if you don't like murder mystery, which I don't know if it's really for me, that's part of the reason it got 4 out of 5. I
Yeah,
don't
true.
necessarily love that kind of read, but I mean, just all the book collecting and bookstore talk and like references and like how it kind of revolves around books made it so much more
Bro, I love
interesting
that.
and like engaging. So I really enjoyed anything about that. Like when he would just like be talking to another book collector and like start popping off different like finds they had recently.
Yeah.
Like half of them I never even heard of before, but it was just so cool to hear like
Yeah. I could just
essentially
relate
characters
to
nerding
like,
out.
I mean, obviously, like looking behind you, bro. I mean, we like to read, but we like physical books. So, I mean,
Yeah.
books are lit. So, I mean, I get the
They
nostalgia of like going into a book. I mean, I went into freaking Books a Million today. I was just telling you. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, you have no
I get
self
it.
control, bro.
I mean, obviously, it's not what they're doing, but dude, I could easily see myself. So, I mean, obviously, I don't even know if we got
Well, it
into the
makes me
setting of
more
this,
like
but I could easily get
think,
into collecting books. Wouldn't you
yeah.
say?
Oh, for sure. It definitely made me think I could get into that. And even more of a sense like maybe later in life I'd be more into the first editions, but just like it just really resonated just owning books and like
Yeah.
even though I like to keep mine and I'm not in a place in life where I'd want to get rid of any of them, I did also like the whole idea they had of like don't hoard books, like they're meant to be like passed through like many different people's hands.
Yeah.
but just in general, the whole like premise being around book collecting and just books and a love for books made it all the more interesting and engaging. But yeah, to back up a little bit and just do the premise, you got a cop, a murder detective, a homicide detective. I
Good
said murder
old
detective. Cliff Janeway, your main character, which is the series, by the way. I think there's another one.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Um,
There's I think there's a couple, dude. There's like there's five. Yeah.
there's 5.
Yeah, 5.
That's so interesting. We'll talk about that towards the end to not spoil anything now, but yeah, essentially, homicide detective. There's a murder that happened. Are you all right?
Yeah, bro. Is there a red dot like
No, dude.
right here?
I think your alien is
Nah, bro.
visiting
I'm
you right
holding
now.
it right now. I'm holding a red dot.
Well, I can't. I can only see like
Oh, you're
I
not
can't see your
maxed
whole
out.
screen. Yeah.
I can see your whole screen. Does it look like I'm nay-naying right now?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
You're
Keep
pulling
going.
that
I
off
totally
so hard.
interrupted.
But yeah, essentially he is investigating a murder
Of a book collector, or
of
well,
a
of a
book
book,
collector who's
or
essentially
not?
like pretty poor.
Is that what they call them though? There's
A book scout is what they're
scout.
called.
Yeah.
So they essentially try to find books at super low prices, like people essentially not knowing what they have, and then they go sell them to bookstores, or book collectors. So that's the premise of it. He's trying to solve this murder. He has this beef with this
Jackie
criminal,
Newton.
Jackie Newton, who is all throughout the story. This guy, I got the vibe that he was like in his 40s, maybe. Your main character, he's been on the job for a little while, and that's essentially what it is. So because it's and not, also important mention, Cliff Janeway, the main character, the homicide detective, is also a book buff. Like
He
he
does.
knows
Yeah, he
about
loves
them. Like he
books.
can spot the really valuable ones. He goes into bookstores all the time. He knows all the book collectors, most of them, like who they are, and like the bookshop owners. So he's very like, it being a book scout that's killed makes it a much more intriguing mystery for him specifically, because there's a lot of connections he can make that your typical cop wouldn't be able to necessarily. So that's the premise of it. I mean, yeah, what were your non-spoiler thoughts, like outside of what we've already said?
So for me, I mean, yeah, I haven't read like a straight up murder mystery, so it was cool. Like you said, the setting was cool. It's in Denver in the 90s, like, or 80s, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it was a cool vibe. I mean, he seems kind of like your classic detective cop guy. And,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, so yeah,
You immediately get that vibe of like a show or like movie where it's even older than the 90s. Like it felt a little older than that, just like his way of speaking.
Like 70s.
I think you're right though. No, because I mean, I think he mentions like Reagan. So I mean, that's
maybe
that's late 80s if I remember correctly, when he was president. So it probably
I
was
thought he
like
was an
early
interesting
90s
character, main character. I mean, and then there's other characters that come along that I like a little more, but you know, especially because he's it's first person, by the way, right?
Yeah, it's all first person from his point of view.
Obviously, we both audibled it, so I feel like it's easier to do first person audible. But anyway, it was. I don't usually like first person, but I didn't even have a problem with it at all, like not even a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought, you know, the suspense was enough to keep me going. Especially because, like you said, once we get into spoilers, like there's something that happens like almost halfway through the book, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
which isn't even really the big twist. It's not even the like whole point of the book.
Yeah, but it does throw. Anyway, I wasn't ready for it. Like in hindsight, it kind of is like you've seen that trope before, and I won't say what it is, but I didn't see it coming, and it made it even more interesting halfway through.
Do you think that's common?
Not common, but I'll talk about it more. I just don't know.
Like that's the other thing too with me not reading a lot of this genre. I can't tell if like something's kind of overdone.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I would call it a trope. It's more of, maybe it is. It's more of like a plot device, I would say. Maybe I don't know anything about anything, so whatever. But
I liked it, and I mean, I would totally, especially if we're talking about what are the best books for me to Audible. This is one right here, dude. This is such an easy Audible.
Good one. Yeah,
especially if you're going on a long drive. I mean. Yeah, it was perfect. It was the perfect thing to keep me engaged. And like my drive was over immediately. Like it was so quick. Yeah. So, I mean, I would totally do another one of these on a drive.
For sure. I'm down to hit another Cliff Janeway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro. I'm curious
on a
to see
drive.
where Cliff's doing. Where he's at, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, we both obviously gave it a 4 out of 5. We both liked it. I would definitely recommend it, especially to someone who's like maybe not into a lot of the other stuff we are,
Yeah.
like the nonfiction biographies or the super thick, deep, high fantasy, hard fantasy type stuff. Because again, I mean, I wouldn't have a lot to recommend outside of those genres, but now that I've read this, I do obviously, and I definitely enjoyed it. So good recommendation from our viewer,
I
hopefully
agree.
subscriber, Rye Strider. Appreciate it. It was definitely a fun listen. Like I said, I would recommend it to pretty much anybody if they were looking for something like this, like a mystery.
It gets
It's
to
got a
the
little
action
dark
really
to it,
quick.
but yeah, it does.
So
But
like
it's
you're
not
not
super
waiting.
dark. Yeah, no, it jumps into it. And yeah, main character's good. I thought he's flawed, and he makes that clear. But he's a
It's kind of why
pretty
you like him though.
yeah. That's why you obviously yeah. That's why you like him. A lot of the characters you end up liking the more you get to know them. And I felt like he was really really good at like especially within the parameters of books. He was really good at differentiating his characters and like what they were into and how it kind of molded them.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, really good book. Not my wheelhouse, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and don't regret listening to it.
Agreed.
So that's non-spoiler. Let's hop into spoilers a little bit. If you haven't read the book and you don't want the ending to be spoiled, which honestly, this book, and I'm not at all saying the ending is bad because it's not, but this is more of a journey before destination type book where like just all the other stuff like in the book is what makes it really
Yeah, it's
good.
way more fascinating for sure.
Yeah. So, but to jump into spoilers, I mean, the main spoiler is the who done it. So tune out now if you don't want to know. But turns out it was Neff.
You're so much better with names. Where I was literally this whole time just trying to look up the characters' names because like I know who they are, but I can't remember their names. But yeah, Neff. Did you see Neff being the? I honestly didn't, but I
I
mean, not that it,
I got a
like I
slight
wasn't
hunch.
like,
I will say I got a
yeah,
slight hunch just because there was a moment when he's talking to them where like he says Neff essentially looks like kind of like uncomfortable, and then at another point, like not long before the reveal, he says he looks sick while he's talking to him, and saying
hmm,
certain things. So like there are some indications where you're like, is that just like happening? Is this a misdirect or is that
yeah.
because he's guilty? But so Neff is, if you haven't read it and you don't care for it to be spoiled, he is another bookstore owner, who
He
has
co-owns it with what?
yeah, co-owns it with
Rudy?
Ruby. I
Ruby?
thought it was
Ruby.
Ruby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably his Ruby. Yeah.
So he co-owns it with this other guy. The other guy is not involved in the murder, but essentially what happens is the book collector. I mean, it actually is kind of convoluted, not in a bad way, but it's like you have to know a bunch of different pieces of the story to understand what
Yeah.
happened. But essentially, to back it up, before Neff is even involved, you have
And
two
everybody's
old
always
men.
looking for the big score. Like that's like the common theme through this is like
Right.
everybody's looking for like
That
the
one
people who
book
don't
that's
know.
hidden.
Yeah, or like the cluster of all these books that you just
Right.
find at once and that it gives you
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So essentially what you have to backtrack and lead it up in like kind of chronological order to make it make sense is two older guys that have been reading books together for a very very long time, and they're in older age, and one of them's like sick and knows he's going to pass away before too long, and he has a daughter and an adopted son that like hate each other and they're really toxic, and he does not want them to have possession of his books. Like he doesn't want the books to be a part of like
What
him
they're
his
fighting
will,
over.
essentially, what they're fighting over. So it leaves it kind of open ended as to whether or not he really knew the value of his books. I think it's kind of more insinuated that he did, because of what they do. But what he
Yeah.
has, I mean, he has to have actually for him to have done that. But what he does is he goes to get his books appraised, so they can be sold. But instead of having the appraiser come look at his books that he obviously knows have a ton of hidden value and a lot of wealth to them, he
Yeah.
has the appraiser, he swaps houses with the other old man, his neighbor, has the appraiser look at his neighbor's books that aren't as valuable, so that she misses like the appraisal and says that they're essentially just a bunch of books that aren't, none of them are really worth anything. So
Yeah,
that
they're all like
appraiser
book
does
club
that.
versions, which I guess
Yeah.
for some reason is worthless.
Yes.
I don't know enough about books, but I did learn that, I guess, that
Yeah.
just because something's a first edition doesn't really mean anything. It has to be, I guess, a specific type. You can't, for some reason, the book clubs are just not.
Yeah, they're not the same for some
No.
reason. So Neff, the guilty one, finds out about this old man's book collection. I forget the piece of how he finds out.
I can't remember either.
Do you
honestly.
remember? I can't remember that. It's not super important, but the book collector who
It
gets
wasn't
murdered.
the dude who gets killed, is it? That finds out he's just hired by.
He
him,
finds
or?
out after Neff has already hired him to do this. So Neff knows the value of the books, but doesn't want other people to know that he's making this score because he somehow realizes that the appraisal is off. And it's obviously, I think it's kind of murky, but it is illegal to like do something professionally.
Wait, no, the guy
and
was the guy going to
mislead.
sell his books? Was that it? That he wasn't going to sell his books? Or am I off? There's a piece missing here.
Yeah, there is a slight piece missing, maybe
that
we're not remembering at the moment.
Because there's a reason why he can't get them. He doesn't have the money. That's what it is. He doesn't have the money, I don't think, to buy them all. And so he doesn't want anyone else to find out, and he's like just hoping that he can get enough money to buy them, right?
Yeah, but he eventually does. Yeah, he eventually does because Bobby goes and buys him. The one who gets killed in the beginning, the murder victim. But he doesn't.
Or is it because he says that he goes and looks at the books? The guy, I think, calls him, and he goes and he doesn't know what number to tell him. He doesn't know if he should tell him, oh, they're too low, so therefore he shouldn't.
That's right.
Buy them, or he shouldn't even sell them because it's not enough money. Or if is it too high, meaning like, oh, he needs to get them looked at.
So he essentially agrees with the appraisal,
right?
Or something like that.
Because he gets them appraised twice, I guess. Once he finds out, right? Because Nev does it, and then also freaking girl who maybe is a babe. I don't know.
Rita McKinley is the one that gives the wrong appraisal, that appraises the wrong
but
books.
She doesn't know that. I mean,
she doesn't know that.
Twist,
No. Yeah. So anyway, Neff finds out the value of them, wants to buy them, but doesn't want anybody else to know how valuable they are. So he has Bobby, the book collector, he loans him the money to go buy them. Bobby goes and buys them all. And then Bobby realizes, because Bobby actually does know books really well, he realizes that there's a problem. And you find out later that he tries to call Rita, but she's out of the country at the time, so he can't get in contact with her because he realized that she's been duped, essentially, that she appraised the wrong books.
Yeah.
And so Bobby never realized until that point, outside of Neff, that the books were so valuable. So then he realizes that he's kind of being duped by Neff because Neff's only wanting to give him like a couple $100 for facilitating the deal. And he realizes they're worth like, I think later in the book, Janeway says they're worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars, like all the books this guy has. So then he tells Peter, the guy that he gets to rent him a U-Haul so he can pick up all the books. So that's why that happens later. But anyway, Neff kills Bobby, the first murder victim, because he's basically found out how much the books are really worth, and you don't want anybody to know. And obviously that's what you find out at the end. The other pieces to all of it are that Neff ends up later coming up to kill Peter, the other guy that knows, and he kills Janeway's assistant that he's hired in his store.
And that's who I thought it was.
Who?
The assistant.
You thought she was the murderer?
Yeah.
Really? When she showed up?
Yeah, I thought she was obviously until you see her dead body, but I thought she was the one who was because Peter, there's the whole scene where he's trying to get what's his face's attention, and I don't know, you realize, okay, some issues really going down and gonna happen here soon. Because obviously at first it's oh, it's Jackie, but it's bro, it ain't Jackie. That's what you realize.
It's too
really
obvious.
Early on.
Yeah, it's too obvious to be Jackie.
And so this girl, because she came out of nowhere. His assistant, I should know her name.
Yeah, she just shows up out of nowhere.
Where, Germany or Poland?
She was from Germany. Yeah, maybe something like that. But she had just gotten into Denver.
Or Ireland.
Had $5 to her name.
She's from Ireland, I think, or Scotland.
Oh yeah, Scotland. I think is what it is. But anyway, so to backtrack a little more, Janeway's basically going through this whole case. He doesn't really find out too much. He makes a couple of steps closer to the truth, but the whole storyline with Jackie Newton is going on. This old criminal that he's had altercations with in the past. He really wants to kill him. Janeway wants to kill Jackie because he knows he's a bad dude. He basically gets involved. Yeah, he can just never nab him. He always gets out of it.
I got to plug my laptop in, by the way, so keep going.
Yeah, so essentially, he gets involved in this situation where Jackie Newton is dating this girl named Barbara, or meets this girl named Barbara, and then beats the crap out of her. So Janeway goes to help her and like gets her out of the house, but it's the classic story of her not wanting to actually turn him in and press charges because she's scared of what he'll do. So that kind of adds a whole nother thread to it. And then one day Janeway is like staking him out or something, and like essentially, long story short, he basically kidnaps both of them. Like he
He
wants to
does some
take.
savage stuff,
Yeah,
bro.
he goes way off the
The one
books as
him
far as a
when he's
cop.
in the bed and he like hides in the bed, gets her to hide in the closet, and then
Yeah. So essentially, Barbara calls him, tells him she's scared and thinks that Jackie is like watching her and stuff like this. So he goes to her house, tells her he'll stay the night, and then he's sleeping on the couch or whatever, and he hears a door shut and sees Jackie outside. So he goes and wakes Barbara up, says, "Get in the closet. I'm going to hide in your bed." Jackie breaks and enters, busts the door down, and then pulls up to the bedroom, pulls the covers up, and Janeway's like, "Gotcha," and points his gun at his face. And he's already broken the essentially broken like cop protocol by doing this way, but he
oh, I
decides to
wasn't even
put
muted when
Jackie
I
in the
did that. My
car.
fault.
I know you're good. Puts Jackie and Barbara in the car because he wants he's like not thinking he realizes later he shouldn't have taken Barbara with him, but he has both of them, drives out of the city, pulls up like to this random place in like the middle of nowhere, uncuffs Jackie and has a fist fight with him and beats the crap out of him.
Jackie's a bodybuilder, he's this big guy, and then there's the whole backstory that Cliff was like a boxer, and he was always wanting to kind of know,
Yeah.
hey, could I take him? And then obviously he ends up
Beats him
wrecking
up.
his life.
Yeah. And the way he does it is he lets Jackie like take a few shots basically and kind of semi-exhaust himself, and then just hits him with like a 1-2 that knocks him on the ground, and does that over and over until he
makes him get up.
Yeah.
That's so tough.
So then obviously Jackie Newton ends up pressing charges. Barbara's not going to be a reliable witness because she's scared. So she agrees with Jackie that
he was still cuffed.
That Janeway was still had him cuffed and just beat him up senseless, like defenseless, all that kind of stuff. So he loses or he gets suspended, but then he ends up just quitting as a cop, buys a storefront to be a book collector, and then the story kind of unravels further from there. Because he starts picking up hints. He'll still talk to his old former cop partner about what's going on. And then in his own store is when Peter and his assistant, Miss Pride, get killed. And they end up being able to hear an audio recording. And what gives it away to him, like finally, is that he hears Peter like kind of like getting crazy and saying like, we need to talk to him, like this, that, and the other. And then the call ends with her saying, "Oh, everything's fine." And it's because he puts it together later that Neff had just walked in, and Miss Pride thought, "Oh, okay, I'm good now. Like, everything's okay, and I'm not alone." But her trust was in an untrustable person. She got shot. So he realizes it because of the trust in her voice and the fact that she said everything was fine on the phone. Once he realizes that Neff was the one that walked into the store. And then there's the whole story with Rita McKinley, who is also a book collector, and she's like an aficionado. She's really good at it, has a bunch of priceless stuff.
And she's like really mysterious throughout the first half of the book because she's just gone. And
and you find out that her husband died and supposedly killed himself, and so people think she might have been a gold digger.
Oh yeah, they weren't married. I don't think
they weren't married, but he left everything to her. But yeah, so he partially thinks that she's involved somehow, and then you find out later that she was actually duped. And so because what you think and what he thinks is potentially going on is that she's involved and did a bad appraisal on purpose so that they can make all this profit off of it. But it turns out that she appraised the wrong books.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's most of the storylines.
I mean, obviously, it ends with them not being together.
Him and Rita, they end up not being together.
He kind of accuses her. Which makes sense because, he goes through all the people that...
What?
Oh, you can't see him. Their dog's going brazy.
Nice.
But anyway, no, yeah, I mean, he's like just checking off the people who could know. And then, I mean, dude, I'm not going to lie, dude. It took me a long time to figure out who it was. And it wasn't until he pulls up to his house. But... I knew it had to be someone that you knew in the story, bro. I knew it wasn't going to be like one of those secret reveals of someone who's like not in the story. So that's why I did think it was the one girl who like kind of came out of nowhere, who was his assistant.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
no
mean,
one else
I
made
didn't
enough
know for
sense for
sure
me.
until it was revealed, but I did, and I didn't like when I had those hunches that it might have been him. I didn't really carry that through with the rest of the story. I didn't keep thinking like
Yeah,
looking for it. It just kind of occurred to me, and then I didn't think about it much more
and
because
he goes back to becoming a detective at the end, right? Or am I high?
I don't think so. That's why I was saying I'm confused about what the next like series of
Yeah,
books will be because I thought he just ended it like he bought that house, the house that the
yeah.
guy who died and had the books had lived in. Bought it for really cheap too. Got it for 50 grand and it sounded like it was a super nice
Yeah.
house.
I mean, yeah, 5,000 books. It's like
Yeah. And
that
like the
sounds
last
lit.
line in the book is what like confirms that Rita was not involved at all. Is that old man saying we
Yeah,
swapped the books and then it just ends and you're like,
that
"Oh
was kind
crap."
of
So she
sick
really
because
wasn't.
that
Yeah,
was
I
the
really
one
liked
thing
the way it ended.
he
Yeah.
couldn't figure out. He's like, yeah, okay, I get like all these other things, but like the appraisal doesn't make sense because I guess the guy was really meticulous about his notes on
Right.
how he bought the book and everything, and
Right.
yeah, and then him just kind of dropping that little egg, little
Yeah.
Easter egg about, oh yeah, we just switched houses when the lady
Yeah.
came by.
So, yeah, that was all really good. I really like the ending, it being that kind of abrupt, but like also a lot of resolution. Like the whole story is resolved.
Yeah, oh for sure.
So I'll be curious to know what the future books are, though, because unless I'm mistaken, I don't believe he was back working in any type of
Yeah,
law
I don't know.
enforcement capacity.
This
So
what this story reminds me of. The only thing I've read that's close to this is Jim Butcher. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dresden Files. Have you heard of
I've
that?
heard of them, but I've never read them.
Yeah, I think someone recommended it to you on Reddit. But anyway, I've read the first two, and it's a fantasy series. And I mean, I should know how many books it is, but essentially they're like this. They're like super quick reads, and it's like the same vibe, but there's magic involved. He's like a wizard, the detective, and it's set in Chicago, I think maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he's a detective that's also a wizard, so he's like always doing. It's kind of a little corny. I'm not gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently it gets really good towards like the end of the series. But I mean, they were still all solid, but they were just like this. They're like quick page turners that are like
Mm-hmm.
not feel good books, but as far as like a literary work, it's not like, oh, dude, that was incredible. It's just like, no, that
Yeah.
was like a cool, fun story.
Yeah, it was
You
really,
know?
that's a good word. I mean, fun is a great way to describe it. Like every time, like I got to the point where I was actually, and I haven't really felt this way a lot in the audibles we've done,
Yeah.
except maybe Dracula, but it's in a different way. But I like actually really looked forward, like what you said. I was mostly listening to it. I listened to most of it in 2 days. Like I
Yeah.
started it and then didn't listen to it at all for like 3 days because I was down in Florida, and then I finished it on the way up, and then like the next day at work because I
Mm-hmm.
was still listening to Nietzsche as well. So I finished both of those like in that
Dude, talk
those two
about
days.
a contrast.
Major contrast.
Oh my gosh.
But when I got home from work today, was it today? No, it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. When I got home from work yesterday, I still had like 45 minutes left. So I just put my AirPods in and like kind of did stuff around the house because I just wanted to finish it because I was
It's
so
so
locked
easy to
in.
follow. It's like
Yeah.
it's not like, I don't know. It's just, it's an easier follow to me for sure.
Yeah.
So I was game. I'm glad that it was recommended. It was something that was completely different
Yeah.
that
For
we
sure.
didn't know about. So it was kind of fun to do just something that we would not normally do.
Yeah. Agreed.
But
So yeah, overall, really good book. It kind of got me interested in like obviously reading more of the Cliff Janeway series, but just kind of maybe finding some other murder
yeah, bro, if
mysteries
there's
every
any other
now and then
murder
to like
mysteries
cleanse the
that people
palate a
have,
little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought it
I'm
was
game
good.
for that for
Again,
sure.
thank you for the recommendation to Rye Strider. That was our first recommendation we've gotten from a comment on one of the videos, and hopefully this will show others that we take those seriously and we will listen to them or read
Yeah,
them
no
most
one will
likely.
ever say that we're not out. Well, I will say we did have some recommendations, but I used to be a teacher, and some of my
Yeah.
former students found them. So if you see some hooligans in the comments,
They're in ninth grade.
yeah, be nice.
Be nice.
They won't be here
So
for
yeah.
long. There's no way they're watching long format content. So,
Yeah.
if you're here, then you probably know your social security by heart.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're at in life. Because that's where we're at in life.
Indeed. Should we both say them right now on the count of 3? Did you really just say your
That's
social
gonna have to be it.
security? Yeah, dude. You're an idiot.
I mean, I covered my mouth. Oh yeah, dude. Someone please steal my identity so that you can incur $60,000 of student loan debt. I'm a very valuable asset.
A very valuable asset. All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode of the pod. We got some other stuff coming up. The wager we'll be doing with another booktuber here soon, whenever the frick Andrew finishes it. I'm about halfway through Rhythm of War, book number 4 in the Stormlight Archive. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I finished the wager, Nietzsche, Book to Die, and I'm halfway through Rhythm of War, and you still haven't finished the wager.
I mean, bro, I did finish. To be fair,
you read other stuff, yeah.
Dude, I've finished 2 other books by the time I've started the wager. So I mean, yeah, dude, I get
whatever that means. So anyway, we do have some good stuff coming up. Like, subscribe, whether you're viewing on YouTube or listening on a podcast app, go ahead and give us that like and subscribe and whatever freaking options there are to do. Please comment. Let us know what you think about these reviews, as well as stuff that you think we should do in the future. General book recommendations are always more than welcome. And I think that's all we have. Anything else from you, the real Ulysses?
We do have some more nonfiction coming up. We're going to be doing a little The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich with Senior Loach. He's going to be hopping on the pod for that, and that's going to be a good time.
Good old Ken. We'll also be doing Napoleon by Andrew Roberts pretty soon here.
Dude, listen to the first chapter of that. I had some extra Audible credits, and I was just messing around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. It's a thick book.
It's thick. Well, it's thick, but it's not as thick as I thought it would be. Like, it's not. Anyway, we're going to probably break those up into different little parts so that people can kind of pick and choose what they want to listen to as far as, just the different subtopics in the full topic of whatever, because these are just big topics that we're going to be reading on. But, dude, I'm hyped about those. So we have that, and then obviously you said Rhythm of War. The Silmarillion is what I'm reading next after I finish the wager.
Silmarillion, just an absolute banger of a book. I'm so excited for that. So be on the lookout for those videos for sure.
Except for that, and then we'll kind of figure out what we're doing next after that. We'll have to figure out another Audible to rip because, dude, I'm driving so far, bro. I had to drive an hour and 40 minutes to the store that I worked at today.
That's a long drive, brother. I mean, I'll be hitting those kind of drives on the reg, but
yeah, I forget, dude.
That's tough.
You know all about that.
Yeah, but I'm also not like, and I'm still usually getting home at like a decent time, like before 5 usually. So it is a little different.
It is what it is. We out here grinding. But hey, grinding. Yeah, again, like you said, if you're liking this content, just go ahead and schlab.
Yep. Make sure to like and comment as well. Give us that engagement so we know these aren't just bots watching our videos. Or a podcast or whatever. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. We haven't gotten super active on there, but go ahead and give us a follow. Everything should be It's Lit book reviews.
Dude, we need to get people to start interacting with us on Goodreads too.
Our Goodreads links are in our YouTube bio. So go ahead and hop on there if you want to see what we've read in the past. We've both got about 3 years logged. Since about 2020 for me. I don't know what you started on there.
Like 2.5. You're definitely longer than I am. But still at least 2.
So yeah, anyway, check us out on all that stuff. And like, subscribe, comment, and bye-bye.
Wait, who am I and who are you?
We already did that.
But we always end it, dude. Bro, you acting like we hadn't done this 20 times.
I'm Brian Cox, and with me today, as always, is Tina Turner. Thank you so much for listening and watching.
Cheers!